Hi, my name is Robert Shelley with Shelley Law, and my law firm assists veterinary practice owners with drafting independent contractor agreements. So today I'm going to talk about how to craft a strong independent contractor agreement for a veterinary associate from the practice perspective. So the first thing you want to make certain that you're doing correctly is classifying them. I find many practice owners want to classify a veterinary associate as an independent contractor to avoid having to pay benefits or employment tax on their compensation or any of the other things that would be associated with being an employee. The IRS releases this 20-factor test that goes into kind of what makes someone more an employee versus an independent contractor. Are you completely dictating their schedule, the patients/clients that they see? Are they able to work elsewhere? Is it an exclusive relationship? Are you paying them via a productivity model or base compensation with a guaranteed amount? All of these factors would lean one way towards the other. So you want to make certain you're kind of drafting the agreement in a way that makes them look more like an independent contractor than just kind of faking it, if that's the best way of saying it. I mean, the penalties associated with misclassification could be paying back taxes on the things that you paid them down the road, and perhaps some penalties as well. The next thing would be the compensation model. In my opinion, only a productivity-based agreement would make sense, or perhaps hourly or shift rate. A guaranteed base with a full-time 40-hour work week does not make sense for an independent contractor. So when you are paying an independent contractor, it should be for the work that they do without any paid time off. And the easiest way to do that is through some kind of productivity-based model. It could be net collections. So they would get a percentage of whatever the practice collects on their behalf. Or per shift, as I said before. Hourly is not normally something that's done in the veterinary industry, but doing it that way would lean more towards them being an independent contractor versus an employee. Next, benefits. You shouldn't provide any of them. So you shouldn't be paying for the malpractice, health, vision, dental, disability, life, retirement, continuing education, dues and fees. That needs to be the cost of the veterinary associate, not the practice cost if they're a true independent contractor. Restrictive covenants, they still can be put in an independent contractor agreement, so it still makes sense from the practice perspective to have at least a strong non-compete and non-solicit. Now, any state where it's not completely prohibited, there's a handful of those, but all of the other states where they are enforceable to an extent, the standard is it must be reasonable, essentially. And is 50 miles reasonable from, let's say it's, you have 4 locations, 50 miles from 4 locations? No, that's very likely not reasonable. 1 year, 10 to 15 miles, 15's maybe on the high side. It also depends upon is it a rural location or an urban location. But that would be okay, and I would suggest putting that in there. And then a non-solicitation agreement as well, so you don't want a veterinary associate coming in. I mean, the nightmare is they come in, snag the patients, or in this case, the clients with the animals, take employees. Obviously, we all know in the veterinary industry, staffing has been a major problem since COVID. And so you want to prohibit them from, and you can put language in it that says they cannot even hire anyone who's been employed at the practice, usually for like a 12-month look back. So the restrictive covenants, definitely a strong non-compete and non-solicit. And then notice requirement, the point of an independent contractor agreement is it's very kind of easy to get in, easy to get out. So putting a 180-day notice requirement in it doesn't lead it to be more of an independent contractor agreement. So I'd say 30 days is probably a good amount of time. In the healthcare industry, continuity of care is certainly important. And so if you were to have a bunch of, animals that are scheduled out a month in advance, and then you lose a provider, you can't, provide care for them, you don't have any backups, that could be a problem. So you want at least a 30-day notice for either side to terminate the contract without cause. So if you kind of put those things in place in an independent contractor agreement, it could be a strong but equitable agreement for both sides. I mean, hammering the veterinary associate with just like completely unfair clauses or having it absolutely lopsided, I don't think is a good recipe for long-term success. Usually it breeds a lot of animosity on the side of the veterinary associate. I don't think that's good for any practice. So if you have any questions about drafting an independent contractor agreement for a veterinary associate, please contact my law firm at the phone number or contact information listed below in the description. And I appreciate you watching the video. Thanks.